viewer.
Well, turn it down just a tiny bit. It's okay to bounce up, be up in the red a little, but not max red.
Okay, according to this board, we can hardly hear you. So, yeah, that's the conflict that's going on. But do you want to call it to order, Joe?
Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. And one of the things that we want to bring up at this meeting and put to a vote, right now there's only 4 of us here, and we don't do votes like that, just 4 people. I will be in touch by phone with all the other people because we agreed at
Just
one of our
hang on. Can you
meetings-
tap your mic? I'm not sure if I'm getting this. Sorry, I should have done a mic check.
My mic doing?
Yeah,
White mic?
Wait a minute.
white mic. Oh. Okay, while Joe is
Hello?
getting, that might be Randy.
See anything?
Yeah, I
White
do.
mic?
I do.
White mic, I can hear it.
I do.
I just want to say
Tell-
something.
Okay,
while
Joe,
is-
go outside.
I just want to say something while Joe is on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm at the TV.
There's no old business, right? Do we have old business before we start new business? I don't think so. I think we've pretty much, except for the ramp.
Yeah, the ramp
The
is.
ramp issue is still in the melting pot, and we haven't come to a resolution on that yet. But as far as anything else, there's no old issues. So we have the only old issue we have is the ramp issue, and then after the ramp, we're now jumping onto a new issue, and Joe's going to talk about it right here.
While you were gone, Joe, Steve was talking about any old business. Was the ramp?
Yeah.
So-
Well,
Let's go with old business first.
We're still trying to get the town to put the ramp in here because we have people. I have a friend in a wheelchair that I've been wanting to bring in to do shows with, and we still don't have a ramp. And Randy can't get in the studio and won't come in the studio until we have a ramp. So we want the ramp. And we're going to keep pressing the town to, since originally the ramp was in the plans, and they decided it was a little expensive to put the ramp because they wanted to spend money to give the theater people everything that the theater wants, which is very unfair. Like I've said before, the theater got everything, and the studio only gets $5,000 a year, which is not enough to run the studio on. Our next thing of business, and like I was starting to say before, we only have 4 producers here, and that's not really a full vote of the producers, which we like to try to get a vote of all producers. And at one of our early meetings, we decided that since some producers can't make it to the meeting, we could take their vote by phone. So the 4 of us are going to cast our votes, but that won't count until we actually get the vote from all the other producers, which I will contact by phone and tell them what we talked about here and what we put to a vote, and I will get their vote. And nothing is done, I want to make it clear, that nothing is done by me as president without a vote of the producers. I only act on what the producers have voted. And I try to take it to the town politicians who choose not to talk to the producers and have for many, many years not even considered any of the needs of the producers. They would actually like to shut us down because we point out the inequities of all the stuff that they do here in this town. So that's why they're trying to shut down this public access studio, but they're not just coming in and shutting it down. They're doing it by neglect of the equipment here. If they only put $5,000 in, they know something's always breaking down here, and we can't function correctly. But the vote that we're going to take now is we want to be back up on the website,
The World Wide Web.
the World Wide Web, and we want to have Skype in here because we have people from far away that may want to do shows with us and they can't make it here, so we want to get Skype in here. So I'll put that to a vote right now. We've already talked about it, so I'll put that to a vote right now. I will vote that we get back up on the World Wide Web and that we bring Skype in. Paula, what's your vote?
I second it.
I third it.
Fourth.
Okay, so of the four of us, that's unanimous, but that's not a full vote of the board. And until I hear from all the other members, which I'm sure are going to vote for this, because quite a few of them already told me that they want to be back up, I'm sure it's probably going to be unanimous. But I will be in touch with all the other producers and get their vote and inform all the producers of what the vote was. And we do everything by majority vote here. And I am only, as president, I am only the spokesman, and I only act on the majority vote. I try to take it to the politicians in this town who have been ignoring us, and it's an uphill battle with them, but whatever the producers want is what I will try to accomplish. Other than that, it's not my agenda or Paula's agenda or Steve's agenda or any one person's agenda here. It's a group of all the producers, what the producers most want. If we do, we were talking about doing a fundraiser. If we do a fundraiser and raise any money that comes in, oh yeah, that's another thing I would like to vote. We need someone to be the person, what is it, the person that collects the money? What?
Treasurer.
We need a treasurer. I would move that George be this treasurer. Would you be interested in being the treasurer if we can get the vote?
I could do that. I could take that.
Okay, and if we set up a treasurer, no one will be able to, we're gonna set it up so no one can touch the money without 3 signatures. We'd have to have the treasurer's signature, the vice president's signature, and my signature as president. And only money will be spent that the board of producers vote that we need this piece of equipment, such and such piece of equipment. When it's agreed on by the board that that's what the money will be spent on, that is what the money will be spent on. And no one person will have access to any money, so there can't be any hanky-panky going on. Are you in agreement with that?
I fourth it.
Okay.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, and then we'll ask everybody else
Yeah, yeah.
after the meeting if they agree
Okay.
that George Conant should be the treasurer.
Yeah, and that we'll set up an account at the local bank here, and any money that we raise will go into that account.
Okay.
We got
just-
someone else coming in. All right.
All right, Ron.
Okay, Ron, we need your vote on a couple of things here. One,
Let's just introduce him. Mr. Ron Rybacki is here, and famous as he is, but he found time to come in here and join us.
Yeah.
come on in and take a seat.
Just to get Ron up to speed, we had a vote about George Conant being treasurer, and we're going to ask other people about it.
If we do a fundraiser to
We
get
do a
equipment.
fundraiser. Okay.
And the 4 of us so far voted for him. Would you
And
take
it can only be spent if the president, the treasurer.
Yeah, you
and the
need
vice
Mike,
president
Mike.
all agree
3
on the vote.
signatures?
Steve, Mike,
Oh, and
Yeah.
it can only, and Ron, it can only be agreed on, the spending of the money, if the president, vice president, and treasurer agree on the purchase.
No. We, 3 of us have to sign in order for the money to be spent.
Yeah.
So no one person can get it.
That's what I said.
And anything that we get, like if we need a new piece of equipment, we only spend the money when the board votes that that's what we want.
Oh, okay. That's even more involved.
Yeah, so,
All right. So I vote.
okay, yes.
Yes, vote.
And the next vote that we had was to take it to the town board that we want to be back up on the internet and we want Skype in the studio.
Skype, wow, amazing.
What's your vote on that one?
Yeah, yay for Skype.
Okay, so we have
Never
5
used
so
it.
far, And we're going to be in touch with all the other producers. I also made it clear to the audience that so we don't just have a few producers making decisions. All producers are contacted for their vote. If they're not here, we call them and say, here's what was decided, here's what the vote was, how do you vote? So every producer who's on the board casts their vote, and nobody's excluded.
Does anybody have anything else to say? Particularly, Steve, you were talking about including more producers, that we're not excluding anybody? Like
Yeah, I'll say
Menzies?
something about that. Any producers out there who are not part of this board yet, you're all invited. Everyone is invited, no matter who you are, that's a producer with this TV station. Please come and participate, and we value your input, and that's what this is all about, is protecting all the producers. So it's usually what is it, the
Third Saturday of
every month at
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, third Saturday of every month, 2 o'clock here at the TV studio. So please, come and lend a hand and contribute your input. We value it. Thanks.
And we have made it clear since the start of this that we want every producer on this board, and no producer will be excluded. We would prefer to have 100% of the producers all involved in the operation of this studio. That was one of the votes that we took, that since the town board was neglecting this studio, that we, the producers, were taking over control of the studio, and we are in charge of the operation of this studio. And that's pretty much basically.
Okay, while that telephone call was John Jordan, and
Yeah.
he obviously must be able to hear, so we know the sound is going out. It's redlining on the DVD. I don't know how that will sound. But he votes also for George Conant to be treasurer.
And what did he say about voting for Skype and online?
Well, he seemed like he was going for everything, but John, if you want, call back if you want to be specific about getting on the World Wide Web and Skype. And I'm a little bit new at this soundboard. I can put you on so you can be heard by everybody else by just raising the phone lever here. I'm new at this.
John, if you're listening, call back and cast your vote for us being on the World Wide Web and us getting Skype in here, so we can bring in producers, people who want to call in we have some people from Europe that want to do shows with us, but they can't get here. So if we had Skype, we could do shows with them. And so we'd like to get your vote on getting us up on the World Wide Web and Skype.
Okay, I think. Hello?
Hello. Yes, I'd like to be on the World Wide Web, but not necessarily Skype. I don't know how to use Skype, but the station does need to be streamed on the World
Just
Wide
put it to the
Web.
mic.
Okay, John, I think that you were able to be heard by the viewers, but you can't be heard by us. This is another little technical thing. He said that he doesn't know how to use Skype, but he likes the idea of the World Wide Web. So,
we can show them how to use Skype.
Yeah,
It's
well,
right.
we'll show you how to use it.
Okay. Okay, John?
Okay.
Thank you for calling. And the sound is good?
The sound is good. The program before you, there was no sound.
Right, we
No.
know the program before had no sound. Yeah, we're working
Okay.
on that.
All right.
Thank you, John. Bye.
Thank you, John.
Okay. So I
We
believe
got six
Okay.
producers now.
We have 6 producers so far who voted unanimously on on all 3 issues.
That's a majority,
Now I
isn't it?
s-
Paul? Isn't it, Joe?
Well, there's 13 of us,
Oh.
so, and we need more producers, because the bigger the vote, and we're stronger when we speak with the united voice. We're stronger when we speak with a united voice, so we would prefer to have all the producers that produce here on this board. And we put out, like Steve said, right from the start, we've put out the offer to every producer to be on this board. You know, we're not trying to be an
Meeting behind
exclusive board.
closed doors.
Huh?
We're not meeting behind closed doors.
Right, right. And I guess that's pretty much we've
does-
done. Does anybody have anything that they want to add or bring in?
No,
Except, I just want to say something. You know, it's kind of not about the producers meeting, but I just want to
It's all
say
right.
for anybody that's watching, Tuesday, the 18th, is coming Tuesday up in Albany, next to the state capitol in West Capitol State Park, where all the fracking rallies were held. We are going to have Stop Smart Meters, Woodstock, New York, and Stop Smart Meters, Woodstock, New York. Two separate groups are joining together to have a big rally and protest against smart meters, and a rally for analog meters. So 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., come up to Albany and lend your support. It's very important. This is the first protest against smart meters in New York State.
Also, if you have a ride, or you can give a ride, or you need a ride, is there a
Yes.
number that they can reach? Do you want
Yes, you can call me at 845-532-5120, 532-5120, and tell me if you want to come up and if you could bring some people with you.
532-5120? It's really important. And
Yeah.
George?
yeah, I'd like to add also for our viewers out there that in our effort to bring you original content and information of the day and all the other great shows that are in the mix here, you know, show some support that you want this in your community, that you want this TV station to be elevated and taken care of, and new equipment bought, and let your public officials know that you're supporting the efforts that are being made to bring you some good stuff from your own backyard. That's my contention here.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. And along those lines, I want to reiterate, it was never the intention of the Bartons to drive Rich Spool from the studio.
Right.
I don't think that can be emphasized enough. We are still hoping that Rich comes back, not just as a volunteer and a tech, but also for his show. He had a show on every Thursday night, and I hope that that continues.
And we would like Rich to be on this producer's board since he does a show, you know? The only problem we had with Rich was that Rich thought he was running this studio and he was in charge. We want this studio to be run by the producers, not by any one person, you know? The fact that Rich was mostly working for the town and not for the producers, he did the bidding of the town, and when the producers tried to say, well, we would like the equipment user-friendly placement this way, Rich placed it where he wanted. We only had some complaints with Rich, that if Rich would have worked with us, could have all been resolved, and we would like Rich to come back. We need a technical person here. We never wanted Rich to leave as technician. We just didn't want Rich to be the dictator to the studio. Other than that, we want Rich.
And along those lines, I really liked how Steve Romine wrote his letters to the editor, not excluding anybody. And do you have any comments on that, Rich? Steve, do you think we can get Dave to feel welcomed? Because
I've written him some emails, and we'll see how it goes. You know, I didn't check the response to my last email to Dave Menzies yet, but I will see what the next email is. Maybe he would come on board, but he's certainly invited, and he's welcome here, and it would be really good to have as many producers here as we possibly could. So anybody producers out there that haven't joined in, like I said it before, please join us and help us to protect our free speech as a radio station and get the information out there that you're not going to see anywhere else but here on Public Access TV.
And Steve, reiterate that you're the vice president. Somehow a huge misconception came
And
about.
in case you didn't know it, I'm the vice president.
And Paula was never the vice
Paula was
president.
never the vice president, and that was a somehow misconstrued from reading some letters in the Woodstock Times. But I don't recall ever seeing any mention of Paula being the vice president. But maybe I missed something. I don't know.
Well, Steve, do you remember that I specifically asked you if you would be the
Yeah,
vice
right.
president, because I was very concerned about our health, and I
Yeah,
saw this as
so-
very important, and I recognized and honored your many, many years in this community. And Joe and I are we were just seeing a beautiful thing, possibly being stolen. We're pretty sure it would have been stolen. And we were trying to step to the plate with our experience, and we really, in a way, we want out, but we can't get out until we see that it's safe. And we need more producers to make it safe, and we felt very appreciative of you taking our back in the Woodstock Times to the letter of the editor, and not at the expense of making somebody wrong. We don't want to make anybody wrong.
Well, echoing your sentiment was Dave Menzies. He said the same thing. He said he really appreciated the letter that I wrote. And so, you know, there's a way to be diplomatic and not to offend people, but get your point across. And I guess Paula deals with that with Rosenberg.
Yeah, I try.
the
Marshall
name of that
Rosenberg's
again?
nonviolent
Marshall
communication.
Rosenberg, nonviolent
Nonviolent what?
communication.
Nonviolent communication, and that's really what everybody's got to practice. And I did take a course with on that with a series of courses with a woman here in Woodstock, and I actually forget her name. I think it was Ellen, a woman named Ellen. Somebody else though, not the Ellen from the TV studio. And your words have power, you know, and what you say can really affect people, and it's important to choose your words wisely. And
So that you get your needs met, particularly when dealing with corporations. That's why
Yeah.
I spend hours here. I'm going to do it again on Sunday tomorrow.
yeah,
So we
That's
can
right.
step out of the corporate veil and work together. Do you want to talk about that movie with Palestine and the Wall? Because
oh, I saw a great movie here. It actually is in Rosendale. It was part of the film festival. It was only shown only once, and it's going to be premiering in New York City. And it was called Disturbing the Peace. And what it was up close and personal views of the Palestinian-Israel conflict. And you got to see both sides of, you know, of how people reached their places of individual desperations and the things that they resorted to, the terrorist activity and the harshness of the military soldiers, and you got to see it all up close and right inside their homes. They were talking with their families sometimes. And they reached a point in the movie where both sides of all these particular people that were chosen to be part of the movie, and how they reached a place of, you know what, this violence just isn't going to work. It's not working. It's not bringing peace. And so they all decided they were going to stop being violent, these particular people, Palestinian terrorists with the PLO and Israeli soldiers. They put down their guns and told each organization they wouldn't fight for them anymore. They weren't going to kill anybody anymore. And they banded together and they organized a group called Combatants for Peace. And they formed this organization, and they held rallies, and they would speak side by side, the Palestinian terrorists or freedom fighters, whatever you want to call them. You know, it's just who's calling who
Yeah,
what.
I don't like terrorists.
And, you know, but anyway, and the same with soldiers, you know. And so they decided to have rallies and protest meetings in Palestine, in Israel, and have events. And they spoke side by side, trying to educate and raise consciousness of people Jewish people and the Palestinian people to walk in peace and not in war. And at one point, the screening of the movie, and some of these people had spent years in jail for being freedom fighters or terrorists. 10 years in jail, started when they were 17 years old. And they've seen members of their own family killed right in front of them. And yet they did this. And then they had the screening of the movie, the first screening of the movie, where they showed the movie on the wall that separated Israel from Palestine. And they showed it to the Israelis on one side and the Palestinians on the other side at the exact same time. If that isn't cool, I mean, and then there were Palestinians that were at the movie, that were in the movie, that were at the movie at Rosendale. Because it was Yom Kippur, the Israeli soldiers couldn't be there at that point in time, but they will be there this weekend in New York City, where they're premiering the movie in New York City. And I got to talk with some of them, the Palestinians, and these people are high people, I'll tell you. They're like definitely right up there with Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi now, where they're at now, not before, but they've reached that point where they realize bloodshed doesn't work. And they were bringing up Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, the Palestinians. Yeah. And some of them had watched in prison, they had watched stories about the Holocaust. And they saw, what the Jews went through, and the Jews saw what the Palestinians were going through. So it was really an amazing movie. The producer did an amazing thing, and it only showed one time. So I just happened to find out about it. I went last night and saw it at the Rosendale Theater, and half the people in the movie were crying through most of the movie, including me.
Can you imagine us doing some things like that here? Because Marshall Rosenberg told me when I interviewed him that he worked with Palestinians and Israelis in Rwanda, tribes that had genocide against each other. And he said some of the worst conflicts were between husbands and wives and children and parents in this country. So if instead of thinking of Palestine and Israel, although that's an important thing to think about, we can think about the town board and the producers, the Woodstock TV producers.
Yeah, not so hard of feat, right, compared to that?
Not
Yeah.
so
Hard of feat to solve.
Yeah, well, George had some idea about upstate theater being used as a satellite. Do you want to talk about your ideas and
Yeah.
maybe some of the future?
Upstate Films 501c3 nonprofit charter as a culturally significant institution includes production as well as presentation. They're not just a movie theater. And in their 44 years, they've done some production, they've done some distributing, but for the most part, it's been presentation. And since I've grown through the ranks at Upstate Films in Woodstock, I have been, bumping up the quality of our theater in physical ways as well as technical ways. And, I contributed my large collection of audio and musical equipment to the stage so that we can have live performances, and Upstate Films granted me the Christmas wish of professional lights, so we got some lighting in there and a lighting board, and now I've made the tentative request for cameras, and they told me, well, write a proposal. So I'm now at the grant writing proposal stage of I would like three cameras and the support equipment to have a viable video audio recording these events that we have, and we're having really incredible talent coming through, and to document it and share it to the world through our Access TV here as a satellite partnership. So that's on my dream board right now, and it's getting some support. So that's what's on board with that. One other thought I was having listening to all of you is getting to the idea of the more producers on board with the board of producers is the diversity. That's what makes it real. Is you have to have all the different points of view. So it has to be an inclusive system. We can't be, setting anybody aside. We have to sit in the circle as equals. And in that sitting in the circle as equals, we all have a vote, and that vote matters. And that's consensus, and that's the tradition that I've spent, 25 years learning all about, on the Native community, that even a child's idea might be what saves the village. So you never know. We have to listen to everybody for all the best ideas, and then we put that together, and that's where we move forward from. So that's my wish, is that more producers get on, and yeah, bring your different points of view. That's what we need to bounce off of. That's how you grow.
That's wonderful. That's what Marshall Rosenberg says, that there's different strategies to meet the needs. And once there's empathy among everybody, a child can figure out the solutions. Did you want to say anything, Joe, about the equipment? Because he's...
Ron?
Oh, Ron, I'm sorry. Ron?
Do you want to add anything, Ron?
Yeah.
No, it's been a pleasure just to listen to you. Sorry, getting the wires hooked up. Been a pleasure. And nice to see you here. I've never seen you in the studio, George.
Yeah.
And you got all that talent and experience now
Yeah.
at Upstate Films.
Yeah.
Not to mention, by the way, the reason Fanny's not here, she's at the flea market selling Peruvian crabs.
Okay.
And she is going tonight to the gala party,
Uh-huh.
and she's going to demonstrate.
Oh, really?
It's Fanny
About
Present.
what? About-
Fanny Present,
About
you know
demonstrating?
Fanny, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, she's a good egg, but she's very feisty.
Yeah.
She is.
Anyways, I won't go into that. I think it would be very interesting to have public access producers getting press passes if they applied for them and going to some of the events of
That's a good idea.
the film festival. I saw a film on Eskimo Village up in Alaska that I didn't even have to see any other movies. It was so good.
That's what I feel like right now, this one I just
The
saw.
one you saw, that was
I don't
great.
feel like going anymore to any of the others.
Anyway, so that's sort of, it's nice to see you here because I feel a connection may be happening.
Yeah, yes.
Well,
Did Fanny make any headway with getting the passes?
Well, Amanda, my ex-girlfriend, my lovely ex-girlfriend,
Oh, man.
my lovely ex-girlfriend. Now, don't get any ideas.
I have a girlfriend. I have a girlfriend.
No, she's got a. Anyways,
Have a girl.
I'm teasing. She was saying, the WFF is not going to just grant every producer,
That's what Joe said.
but they could apply.
no,
They would apply if you're interested in getting. I would like to have a press pass
well, what I
to
said,
WFF. Wouldn't that be exciting? I could go to all the panels,
well, what I
just like I
said,
come here.
let me
Fun, be exciting.
jump in
But you
on
gotta
this.
deserve it.
Let me jump in on this. What I said was, I'm sure that the film festival people are not going to give every producer their own pass. But if they would give us 4 passes that could be shared, say Steve wants to see one picture and George wants to see another picture on a different day or a different time, if they would give the public access studio 4 passes, and whatever producer wants to cover a specific show would be able to do it. I don't think that, and I think it would be unreasonable to ask them for, if we got 13 producers for 13 passes, I think that's an unreasonable to ask for. But to give, since we have 13 on the board, but we have other producers that would be able to use those passes. If they would give us 4, then, we could go in 2s. If, say, Steve and Ron wanted to go see a show, then they could use 2 passes to go see that show. And if George and somebody else wanted to go see a show, they could go see a show. But I do think, because we are media, that they should give us press passes. So I support Fanny on her move to get press passes for the producers here.
Yeah, I want to say on that note, in conjunction with getting the producer passes, that if somehow we incorporated the station, the station with the film festival, do something with the station for the film festival, we might be more apt to get,
Well,
like where maybe we do commercials for them. I don't know if you can do that. You can't
Yeah,
do
of course,
commercials.
it's
But-
profitable.
well, we can't do commercials. We can't do commercials.
We can
Bulletin
promote
board.
it.
Like a bulletin board.
Yeah.
You know, we
Right,
can.
we can't do
could-
commercials,
We
but
could we could post all the movies and everything on a screen so people know what's playing.
yeah, we could do
Do
that.
something like that would help them. And if they saw that we were doing that, they might be more apt to give us participasses.
To allow the community to know what's going on, we can do. But we can't do commercials.
No, we're not doing
For public
commercials. We're
access.
just letting them know what the movies are when they're playing.
Right.
We're not talking about paying a price.
Right.
If you
Right.
walk down the street with a Woodstock Film Festival T-shirt, you realize that's the commercial. We don't have to use the word. Another thing, Amy Goodman just did a whole hour on Bob Dylan. And she does politics, but she always plays music. She did a whole hour on Bob Dylan. Very interesting recap of his life, etc. Can you imagine if Paula said, I want to interview Werner Herzog, if he was showcasing one of his films there, and she wanted to do it here? She could. She'd have the capability. That's what the
Yeah.
studio's for.
Yeah.
You
Right.
could interview producers.
Yes.
People from all over the world come to this film festival. It's quite exciting. I think it's very exciting. I used to be terribly excited about it.
I can actually float that to directly to Miera, and put that out to her that this is a venue that she could use to get some of these producers some exposures locally, and if we do get our bandwidth back to go global again, then it is a global event. I mean, people from all over the world. We're showing movies from Palestine. We're showing movies from Holland. We're showing movies from Spain. We're showing movies from Peru and all over the world. So yeah, it absolutely applies. That's a nice way to make that circle come together.
Yeah.
I have to go, guys.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, and
Me
I
too.
think we should call this meeting to an end at this point, since there's only
Hey, Joe,
five.
you want to wrap it up?
There's only 5 of us, so we're going to wrap up the meeting. And to all the viewers out there, Woodstock Public Access TV needs your support. So please call the politicians and tell them that $5,000 a year cannot run a public access studio. And they've allowed this to run down every year, $5,000, and other equipment suffers because the $5,000 only gets one camera maybe,
And sadly, we're going to be going on to automatic programming, which has no sound, and we don't know why. So I guess that's it from the
Okay,
producers.
goodbye,
We're trying as hard as we
Woodstock.
can.
Adios.
Bye. Okay, mics are down.